Hey folks, so what I'll be talking about today in this video is fishing on Cass Lake in Minnesota, and more specifically about Wishbone Resort on Cass Lake. I think it's probably important for me to mention that I don't represent Wishbone in any way, nor have I received compensation or discounts for making this video. This is simply my review of the resort and a look back at my fishing trip over a 5-day period starting on Walleye opener of 2016. I will definitely get to the fishing talk in a little bit here, but first let's talk a bit about the resort itself and my experience in staying there. I had never fished Cass prior to meeting my wife and being introduced to it by my father-in-law, but he's been going to Wishbone for over 20 years. I personally have just gone on day trips 4 or 5 times, but this was my first extended stay. The resort has numerous cabins of various sizes, so you can make a selection based off of the needs of your party. This year our group had 7 adults and 2 kids, and the cabin that we had was plenty big enough to fit everybody. I would say that the cabins are plenty family friendly, but obviously the main clientele of the resort is going to be fishermen, and so the majority of the beds consist of single beds. It seems like what happens is that normally they have one queen bed in the cabin, and then the rest of the beds are all single beds. The cabins do have cable, and the resort does have Wi-Fi, but not to the capacity that they allow excessive streaming or downloading. So just make sure that you check your cell carrier coverage maps and make sure that your data packages are up to date. They don't furnish DVD and Blu-ray players, so if you're planning on bringing some movies for the kids, just make sure that you bring your portable DVD players or your laptops or notebooks. Each of the cabins has a private deck, and I think that most of them actually also have screened-in porches, so you can stash your gear in there and out of the way from being inside the cabin. Some of the bigger cabins also have separate refrigerators with freezers in the screen porches, so that's pretty nice if you have a lot of people and need to store some extra food or if you need to keep your bait cold. The resort does have a pool, but I've always visited too early in the year for it to be open. They have a nice playground, which my daughter and my nephew actually really enjoyed. They wanted to just play on it all day. I saw that they also had a game room, but I didn't go in to see what was in there. The bar itself, it has its, your typical pool table and dartboards. I'll offer just a couple of general tips in relation to the cabins and your stay there. The towels that they furnish they're like smaller size towels, so if you want a full-size bath towel or a beach towel, then you do need to bring it from home. Also, when you're packing your food and that kind of stuff, just remember to bring some garbage bags and dish soap. They furnish all the utensils and cookingware and all that good stuff, but they don't have any dish soap and they don't supply extra garbage bags. So other than that, the kitchens are plenty big enough to store a whole bunch of food, and you have lots of elbow room to prepare your meals. One of the things that I like most about the resort is its fish cleaning facilities. They have a really nice setup with a stainless steel counter system where you can have 4 to 5 guys cleaning fish all at the same time and not be too cramped. It has a couple of hoses running along the way so you can kind of wash the stuff down the drain. They also have freezers available for the guests to use right in there, and that's really nice. They also do offer fish cleaning services if you want to pay to have that done. They offer some different time-specific packages, and something my father-in-law has always taken advantage of is their Fisherman's Special, which includes a rental boat and a meal package. The special is really reasonably priced compared to just doing things a la carte. The food is really good, and the portions are plenty big to satisfy a bigger guy like myself. The steak, for example, is basically big enough to cover half of a dinner plate. The meal package includes breakfast and dinner, and the menu is set. That means everyone eats the same thing. There really is no customization besides just choosing what you want to drink. Breakfast consists of your typical eggs, meat, toast, French toast, biscuits and gravy type of things, and they mix it up enough so that it's not boring. During the 5 days that we were there, we had ham, meatloaf, walleye, taco bar, and steak for dinner. If you have little ones, like under the age of 3, then they don't get their own portion. They just have to share with somebody. But little older kids, they get a half portion. Okay, so that's enough of that type of stuff. Let's actually get into the reason why you probably clicked on this video in the first place, and that's fishing. So what makes this resort a good choice for the serious fisherman? Well, first, obviously you get access to the entire Cass Lake chain, and you may want to branch out and make the run over to Andrusia or up to Kitchie, but you learn very quickly that you don't need to put in lengthy boat trips in order to find fish most of the time. I'm not going to give away the hot spots online, but there are several good areas to fish close by the resort, and the staff isn't afraid to point you in the right direction. Obviously, if you came to catch fish, then they want you to catch fish. Otherwise, chances are good you're probably not going to come back just because you like the meatloaf. My tip, though, is to be receptive of the advice that you are given by them. That means if they tell you you should be jigging shiners in a certain depth at a certain time of day, then don't just go do your own thing and troll crawler harnesses all day and then come back and complain about the fishing. You do need to listen to the advice that they give you and watch what the other fishermen are doing. The resort also has dock boys, which is kind of a cool feature. So they'll keep you stocked up and make sure that you have bait and gas and all that good stuff, and kind of help guide you up and down in the slips. It's a really nice feature. The resort does carry bait on site, and that consists of your fatheads and your crawlers and your leeches. But if you're looking for something specific like shiners, you may want to consider stopping on your way to the resort, or plan on going into Bemidji during the day or something like that. But they did have a limited supply of shiners available when we showed up, but they quickly ran out of those, so just be prepared. I did mention that it's nice to have those dock boys hanging out to kind of help you in and out of your slip and things like that, but if you're planning on fishing after dark, they don't hang out all night. So they do have a big floodlight, though, that lights up the whole dock system, so you can still navigate your way in pretty easily. They'll assign you your own slip, and you can bring your own boat if you want, and they'll even launch it for you if you'd like, but they also have different rental boat options. So the standard boat is a 16-foot Lund with bench seats and a 20-horsepower Yamaha tiller, which do have electric start as well. They're fairly basic, though, and they don't have electronics or anything like that, so you need to pretty much bring all of your own gear, which would include portable navigation lights if you're planning on fishing after dark. The boats do have one anchor, but I would recommend bringing another one just so that you're not spinning and constantly fighting the wind. You can also upgrade to either a pontoon if it's available, or a Lund Alaskan, which is 18 feet. I've never been on the pontoon or checked it out much, so I don't have many details on that, but the Alaskans are outfitted much better than the basic boats. They have a fish finder, live well, nav lights, bilge pump, etc., but I think you still want to bring your life jackets, your throwable, extra anchor, that kind of good stuff. The Alaskans have a 50 horsepower Yamaha 4-stroke tiller, and they do have power, trim, and tilt. I'd say they're well worth the upgrade cost. So, what species are available in the lake to target? Obviously, probably the highest on most people's lists is going to be walleyes, and they're obviously on the top of my list too, so you can see that in the video, but the walleyes are plentiful, and they have a good average size in the lake. We caught lots of fish in the 12 to 14 inch range, which we threw back, but we caught just as many in the 15 to 20 inch range, and we even got into a fair amount of fish that were over 20 inches, with the biggest one actually coming in at 23. There are also northern pike, which you'll get mixed in with the walleyes, or you can plan on targeting them specifically, but we pulled in a really nice 30-incher. The yellow perch also kind of mix in there, and some of them are really nice sized jumbos. You can also find large schools of panfish if you do a little extra work, but the bluegills and crappies are really nicely sized, good hand-sized fish. But the thing that surprised me the most when I fish cast for the first time was the size of the rock bass. The rock bass and cass are monstrous. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, who cares about rock bass? And a couple years ago I would have said the same thing, but these rock bass are actually different. We're talking about 14 plus inch fish with like half-inch thick fillets. And when you take rock bass out of cold water, they can really be tasty. They're just as good as a bluegill or crappie. You can also get into some largemouths and some muskies if that's your thing. Obviously the footage should speak for itself, but I probably caught over 100 fish just myself, and our group was definitely well into the 200s, and that was mostly with only 4 people seriously fishing for the majority of the trip. Opener itself definitely was a pretty cold day, and it was definitely windy, and a lot of people were kind of having a tough time staying out there most of the day, but we didn't show up until the afternoon and didn't actually get out until the evening, and fishing actually didn't even turn on for us until basically when the sun actually went down. But from then on it was really good, and I actually had a streak of about 12 casts in a row where I either missed a fish or caught a fish, and it was just really a lot of fun. We had a couple of days like that where really Getting close to sundown, we just started hammering fish left and right and had plenty of doubles, and just a really good time to be had. So I definitely can speak highly of the fishing, and would definitely recommend a trip to Cass for anybody that likes to catch walleyes. We all definitely had a really great time on our trip to Wishbone Resort on Cass Lake, and if you liked what you saw and heard in the video, then I would definitely recommend that you get online and check out their website, or give them a call and get your trip booked. If you like the video, or if you just have general feedback, please definitely leave that in the comments. I really appreciate it. Please also support your selective harvest programs. Let's just really be smart about the way we use our precious resources and ensure that our kids also have a future in the outdoors. Thanks for watching.